Peter Valley, FBAmastery.com. Listen, guys, I got to admit something. This trick I'm about to share with you was hard for me to reveal. It's hard for me to let this one go. But as they say, when you love something, you set it free. And I'm here to serve. So the trick I'm about to teach you is a trick that can literally double the value of a used textbook. Now, not always. That's a pretty best case scenario. But you are going to learn a trick that will take a textbook that you're selling anyway for a set amount of price and give you significantly more for it in a way that you're probably not thinking. So let's get into it. Here's what we're going to learn. Number one, the foundation. I'm going to teach you exactly why this trick works. Step part two, I'm going to teach you the step-by-step process, increasing the value of a significant percentage of textbooks that you sell. And then lastly, I show you a real-world scenario. I find a book on Amazon where you can literally almost double the value of this textbook by using the textbook access code trick. Okay, so there's 4 facts you have to understand before we go forward, or none of this will make any sense. Okay, so fact number 1 is that textbooks often include what are called access codes, access cards. They go by many different names, but basically they're little cards. They're often shrink wrapped, but there's always a way to tell if they've been opened or not. And these give you access to certain supplemental material. They're not central to the actual functionality of the textbook, but they're just little add-ons. So it could be like, hey, here's some videos to supplement the textbook, or here's some additional material, whatever it may be. And again, these go by many names, so don't get hung up if I use the term access card or access code interchangeably. Don't get hung up on that. I'm always referring to the same thing. So you can take a look at this image here. You can see what these look like. You got the textbook on the left. On the right, you got the access card. Again, in this instance, it's shrink wrapped. They're not always, but this gives you an idea about what I'm talking about. Fact number 2, very, very important. I'm going to head off some objections here that you may have when I teach you this trick. Textbook buyers on Amazon do not expect the access codes to come with the textbook. 1, Amazon used book condition guidelines make it very clear that buyers should not expect access codes. Number 2, when you actually go to check out on Amazon and you're purchasing a textbook and you complete the checkout process, before you click buy, Amazon shows buyers a message that says this may not include any supplemental material. You are buying a used book, do not expect supplemental material. So you're covered from multiple angles. And I'm saying this to head off some objections that I've gotten when I've talked about this in the past. Okay, fact number 3, to understanding why this trick works, textbook access codes often have their own product pages. You can purchase them separately. So let's say an Amazon customer buys a book and they actually wanted the access code, which most of them don't, by the way, but sometimes they do. They can go on Amazon and actually find just the code and purchase just the code separately. And so here's an example of this right here. You got the textbook, the actual textbook on the top, and then right below that, the product page for the access code if you want to buy the access card or code / whatever you want to call it separately. Okay, very important detail. You've got 2 separate ASINs, 2 separate products, but the second one came inside the first one. Is this starting to make sense? The gears should be starting to turn here. Okay, now that you understand the basis and the foundation, how does this trick work? Before we do that, I have to get this out of the way. My name is Peter Valley. I've been selling on Amazon for over 15 years at this point. I do the website at FBAmastery.com, and what I'm about to teach you, I've done a lot of. I've done this a lot. In fact, I kept this under my hat for many years. I didn't talk about it publicly. And I'm not saying I invented it. There's probably other people that were doing this before me at the same time, but I can say that when I thought of it, it was a new idea to me. So I did this quietly and I was like, you know what? I should share this with the world. Doesn't have to go around. So that brings us to this video. And I got to mention, really important, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can build a whole business off of what I give away for free. And you can also build a whole business off of what I give away at FBAmastery.com. There's a link below this video. Get on my email list. Really important. And honestly, I got to warn you, if you don't do that, I'm going to come to your house and rearrange your furniture. So you have a decision to make right now. You can ignore what I'm saying, continue on with your life, not be on my email list, not subscribe to the YouTube channel. But you're going to come home and find all your furniture has been rearranged. Okay, so that's the unfortunate consequence of not subscribing right now. Lastly, I have a slightly more in-depth version of this video up at FBAmastery.com in article form. I'm able just to go into a little bit more in depth than I can in this video. So go ahead and hit the link below this video to access the article version. Okay, this is it. Let's get into it. Textbook access card hack part 1. You're outsourcing inventory. You've got a textbook. Look inside the textbook for an unused access code / access card. Unused is a key detail here. If you find an access card and the number's been scratched off or it was shrink wrapped and it's been opened, this is not going to work. The good news is, I would say the majority of the time that you actually find an access card inside a textbook, it is unopened. The vast majority of textbook buyers never use these. And I don't care how long you've been selling textbooks, you're likely to have just completely ignored these. So this is going to take a little bit of a behavioral modification. You have to start looking for these when you get textbooks in your possession, okay? That's step number 1. Step number 2, when you have an unused access card, go over to Amazon. As you're listing your textbook for sale, I want you to go on Amazon and find the product page for just the access card. Usually these exist, often they do not. So don't get discouraged if you don't see it immediately. Oftentimes Amazon will sort of bury it in the search results. I want you to look at the card and figure out what the textbook company that published it, how they call their supplemental material. It can be e-text, there's a bunch of different names, right? So type that into Amazon, do a couple different searches, really put some work in and try to find the standalone product page for the access card. Okay, so let's crystallize this in a real world example. Take a look at the screen here. Look at this example I just found. On the top, you have the actual textbook product page. Right below it, the product page for the access card if you want to purchase the access cards separately. All I did was type in human anatomy and physiology, and both of these product pages came up. So let's look at how much we can actually get for this access card. You can see the textbook is selling for the paperback version $132. Okay, that's the lowest price. And the access card, $85. And again, this is something you would have just left in the book and given away for free. And now you can get $85 for it. Okay, textbook access code hack. Step number 3. Probably saw where this is going. I want you to separate the card from the textbook and list them separately. You got the product page for the textbook. That's easy to find. You just scan the book. Now you found the product page for the access card. You're going to list them for sale separately. So you're basically taking the same thing that you would have sold for X amount of dollars, and now it's X plus. Because you've separated the items, and you've increased the value of this textbook with no extra or minimal extra work on your part. Okay, so far this seems too good to be true, right? I have to throw one slight curveball, and it's not a big one, but I just want to warn you about this. Oftentimes, textbook product pages are split where the publisher will have multiple pages for the same textbook. And there will be one for the actual book, the standalone book, and there'll be another product page where it says standalone, or it says book plus the access card. You've probably seen this. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind about this. My theory is that textbook companies, this is a very shady move on the part of textbook companies to discourage Amazon sellers from selling used textbooks without the access cards. Because what's going to happen when you type in the title, it's going to bring up product page. Usually the first result is going to be the book that you have in your hand, and then in the title it will say with access card or with e-text or whatever the case may be, leaving you with the impression that you can't list that book for sale if the card is not included. I'm here to tell you that's false. Amazon is on our side with this one. Again, if you sell a used book, it does not have to include the supplemental material. Feel free to debate me on this in the comments, and I think the rules are on my side here. But the reason I mention this is to warn you that you're likely to see multiple pages for the same book, and you're likely to think, if my access card's not included, then I can't sell this book on this product page. How I deal with this personally is I will list a textbook without an access card on whatever page is going to get me the most amount of money, even if the title says with access card, with e-text, etc. But I'm going to warn you, if you take the more conservative route, the price difference can be pretty substantial. You see in this example here, the book only page that doesn't mention the access card in the title is selling for $95, whereas the book plus access code described product page is selling for $132. Personally, I would list a book without an access card on either one. Okay, that's how I do it. Just understand, if you get conservative here, it's going to cost you money. Okay, let's run the numbers on what just happened here if your head is still spinning. Okay, so we took the textbook, we separated the access card from the textbook, right? What would happen if we had not done that and just listed the textbook for sale, not even looked for the access card? Okay, we would have gotten $132 for this textbook. Okay, that's the selling price. Now, what happens when we separate the two and we list the textbook on the product page for just the standalone book, and then list the access card on the page, obviously for the access card? How much did we get then? Our sales price was $180. We took a $132 textbook and increased the value to $180 with almost no extra work. Okay, so what would I do in this situation? How much would I get? Remember, I'm not going to list the textbook on the standalone page. I'm going to list it on the other page. The page is going to get me the most amount of money. So in that instance, the sales price for the access card in the textbook would have been $218. So not quite doubling, but not too far off. So I think I've addressed the only major objection to this so far, which is that Amazon textbook buyers don't expect supplemental material with their textbook. The only other objection I think that might come up is you might be wondering, is anyone actually buying these access cards? Like, what are the sales ranks for these cards? So I'm going to give you an example of this book I've been using. You can see the sales rank for this book is $27,000. This is the book I've been using throughout this presentation as an example. Okay, so that's the actual book. Now, what is the sales rank for the access card? Well, that brings us to this, $885,000. Not an amazing rank, but it's definitely selling, right? So you can kind of look at that ratio and say, okay, books that are ranked, better than 100,000, roughly their access cards might kind of hover around 1.5 million, 800,000, somewhere in that range. That's my experience. The demand obviously is always going to be worse than the actual book, so keep that in mind. But the takeaway here is that yes, people do buy these access cards. Okay, so what are the takeaways here? What did we learn? Number one, always look for unused access cards inside your textbooks. Number two, when appropriate, separate the two. List your textbook on one page, sell the access card separately, make a bunch of extra money. Okay, so you now have a 4-part mission. Are you ready? Mission number one, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the link below and subscribe right now. Mission number two, go to fbamastery.com. Get all the free stuff you see here. You can build a whole business off of what I give away for free. Mission number three, if you're selling on Amazon, you need an Amazon repricer. You need an automated repricing tool. I have one. It's the best one out there. It's called NeuroPrice. NeuroPrice.io. Link below this video. Lastly, take what you learned in this video, Don't look at this as just some entertaining thing you spend a few minutes on. Actually put it into practice, make some money with it. Otherwise, your time here is wasted. That's it, you guys. Peter Valley signing off. See you in the next video.